Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, Wizards of the Coast has been, well, gotten themselves into quite a few pickles over the last few years when it comes to D&D, from all of the crazy kind of identity politics stuff that they've been pushing, and a lot of their marketing, even though it wasn't always necessarily true in their books and in a lot of their games and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things that marketing really does matter, and it gives a huge perception as to how a company operates. We've seen a lot of the changes that have come, a lot of them, some people have welcomed them, some people have said them, all, of course, on the idea of diversity and nonsense and changing things about their history and all that other kind of stuff. And we've obviously seen some of the executives out there go ahead and try to bash former creators and the people that were part of the founding of D&D out there, the one that created the legacy that they now stand on their shoulders and make all of their money off of. And at the end of the day, of course, they're standing on all of the fans out there. And we've seen them drive so many things into the ground by doing a lot of the kind of nonsense. Obviously, all of the big 1D&D stuff that happened a couple of years ago was an absolute huge hit to them stuff. Or was that just last year? Has it been officially a year since all of that kind of stuff happened? I can't remember anymore. But at the end of the day, there was a huge backlash, and we covered a lot of that, talked a lot of that, because at the end of the day, whether I'm a regular player of D&D or whether I'm a regular player of tabletop RPGs, at the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of fans, and I have a lot of my friends that are huge fans of tabletop RPGs and playing things like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and a lot of these other things out there. And that's one of the beauties of a company like Wizards of the Coast deciding to go this way. You see a lot of other independents show up, jump up and come up and kind of start to take their place. Pathfinder is one of the big ones that I think about because I have family that play that, I have friends that play it, and it's a system that's used for a lot of other things. We've seen other things like Wrath and Glory and many other systems trying to go up there and sort of take the place of that because of the insane ideology and the idiot decisions that Wizards of the Coast continues to make time and time again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting a blast from the past because Dungeons and Dragons founder Robert Kuntz blasts Wizards of the Coast as disgusting slime for attacking original creators. And hell yes and amen, good sir. Robert Kuntz, the man responsible for so many of the wonderful things that you absolutely have enjoyed about D&D, one of the founding people out there, absolutely is pushing back and calling out all of the nonsense in the modern era that Wizards of the Coast has intentionally injected into their companies over and over again, and he is not taking this lie down because, once again, as usual, these narcissists, these psychopathic egotists that are currently in charge of Wizards of the Coast and by proxy Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and so many other things out there, they have in time and time again decided to bash and try to go, well, you know, those players that used to be around, oh, those silly folks, they don't like our changes because they're not progressive. And then with some of the most recent editions, they decided to bash some of the original creators as well. Well, they are not taking it, and I cannot wait to bring you all of exactly what he has to say. So we're going to check out this article from That Park Place. Shout out to our wonderful John F. Trent for bringing this article and putting it all together for us. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe and or follow if you have not already, because we are getting closer to 800, and I could not do that without every single one of you. And leave us a comment down below what you think about this stuff with founder Robert Kuntz blasting the current people in charge of Wizards of the Coast. If you agree with him or if you disagree, or if maybe you think he's overreacting a little bit. All comments are welcome as always. Let us know what you think about that down below. So Robert Kuntz, one of the founders of Dungeons and Dragons, blasted Wizards of the Coast for attacking him and his fellow original creators in the preface to the recently released Dungeons and Dragons: The Making of the Original D&D 1970 to 77. There he is right there. Looks like what? Looks like an old nerd guy. In the preface written by Jason Tondro, a senior designer on Dungeons & Dragons, and shared to X by users DLSD25, Tondro attacks the original creators, writing, "Some language in the first iteration of D&D presents a moral quandary. Oh, it's so hard. Oh, yes, those people, those bigots back in the past, they weren't as elevated, they weren't as advanced as us, they weren't as knowing. Oh, they were so dumb. We're the best and smartest thing to ever come and ever to happen to D&D. The documents reproduced in this book include many pages of charts and tables alongside lists of monsters, spells, and magic items. But that game content also includes a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language. Oh, the horror. We're just giving you a fair warning. This book might hurt your fifis. It might hurt your sensibilities. But the game content also includes a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language, words that are casually hurtful to anyone with a physical or a mental disability, or happens to be old, fat, not conventionally attractive, indigenous, black, or a woman. Oh, yes, the horror, The horror. The horror. Yes, all of those old white men that created the game that we now survive our living off of. Well, they were just a bunch of racists and bigots, and they weren't educated like us, so they used all of this horrible terminology that will offend you. I'm so sick of this garbage. Toronto continued. Some people have charitably ascribed this language to the authors working from bad assumptions. Oh, but you wouldn't say that, would you? In the 1970s, historical war games in America were predominantly white middle-class men. It isn't surprising they would dub a class of soldiers the fighting man. But when in the pages of Greyhawk, the description of Queen Chaotic Dragons included a dig at women's lib, the misogyny is revealed as a conscientious choice. It's an unfortunate fact that women seldom appear in original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed disrespectfully. Yes, they have giant boobs and they're put in skimpily clad clothing. Weird. We live in a visual world with visual people, and men and women like to see beautiful women in scantily clad clothes. I know, strange concept. That just offends your sensibilities. It just breaks your brain to even think that such a concept would ever be part of reality. Hey, take a little page out of the Hollywood Reporter or whoever it was over there that wrote the article and said, hey, guess what? Sex sells. When in relation to like the recent controversy over our dear sweet Stellar Blade. Tundra went on. Slavery appears in the original DD, not as a human tragedy that devastated generations over centuries, but as a simple commercial transaction. Oh, you mean like exactly what's going on in the Middle East right now? Like that? How about the adult slave trade, the sex slave trade that happens on our southern border every day? You want to bitch about history, but you don't want to go and actually fix any of the actual modern problems of this thing, of this practice actually still going on right now, because that would require effort and work. But you can virtue signal and rewrite things, or in this case, put a warning on a book based on your modern sensibilities. Hey, why don't you actually go do some effort and work to actually stop the real things, the actual tragedies that are happening in the world right now? Oh, that's right. You'd rather just virtue signal while sipping on your latte from a San Francisco cafe. That's right. I forgot. The cultural appropriation of original D&D ranges from bewildering, like naming every sixth cleric a llama, to the staggering gods, demigods, and heroes, not reprinted in this book. Includes game statistics for sacred figures revered by more than 1 billion people around the world. Wait. So they did actually remove things from the book as well after they said they weren't going to. Were players expected to fight Vishnu, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, kill him and loot his +3 sword of demon slaying? Yes, that's exactly what was expected of you. Tantro concluded the preface writing, despite these shortcomings, D&D has always been a game about people choosing to be someone unlike themselves and collaborating with strangers who become friends. It has slowly become more inclusive, and as players have become more diverse, the pool of creators who make the game has expanded to include people with a broader range of identities and backgrounds. As these new creators make the game more welcoming, the game has attracted new fans who in turn continue to make the game more inclusive. The future of Dungeons & Dragons here at its 50th anniversary is bright. Oh yeah? How's those sales doing, boys and girls? How's that market cap you've got? Yes, is D&D still the largest tabletop RPG out there? Yes, is it easily accessible to players and fans out there who maybe are new to the game? Absolutely. But as a guy who is the parent to a child who literally DMs his own games, they're all playing homebrew now. No one's buying Wizards of the Coast books. Nobody's buying D&D's new versions. No, it's all homebrew now. They're making the stories themselves because nobody wants your garbage ass trash anymore. And guess what? That's the best part. They don't need you or your stories, but you do need them and you do need their money. How many more mergers are we going to see with Wizards of the Coast? How many more acquisitions are you going to do to try to keep your company afloat? This isn't going to end well for you, just like it hasn't ended well for anyone else, because the old adage, go woke, go broke, exists. Because as usual, you're catering to an audience that doesn't exist. Not in any significant amount of numbers in any way. Otherwise, you'd be making billions. With all of your inclusivity, you'd be bringing in so many new gamers, so many new players. Except you're not. You're ostracizing all of the ones that came before, that built the foundations of what you now stand upon. Well, that's okay. Because it's not being taken by whatsoever. And it's also, they're not done. More and more people are attacking Kuntz and everybody else. Rules for the Fantastic Medieval War Games campaigns were created and sold to the wargaming community that was almost exclusively white middle-class men. Yeah, rinse and repeat. So Kuntz reacted to these attacks in a post on X from his 3Line Studios account. He wrote, I have to take a break from posting. This whole attack upon the old TSR has really tripped my trigger. A 50th year celebration, and this is it. Of the original D&D authors and its supplements, Gary, Dave, Jim Ward, and Brian Blum are gone. And that leaves me alone as the last man standing, the last author. It really is a burden watching this slanderous episode unfold. Yep, he's the last man standing, and by God, he's not going to take this sitting down. Nor should he. He should stand up. He should voice his opinion. It's his creation! Yes, has he sold the rights to it? Yeah. Did he get a big fat paycheck for it? Of course. But just like they disrespect Tolkien on a regular basis with their new abominations, just like they disrespect Stan Lee, just like they disrespect Kirby, just like they disrespect all of these other great creators out there. They are disrespecting him and blatantly flat out calling him a misogynist and a racist with this forward. Well, guess what? He's not going to take it, nor should he. Nor should he. It really is a burden watching this slanderous episode unfold, and it was done without one bat of an eyelash. A Wizards of the Coast fait accompli, done in such an assumptive manner as if they wield the holy articles on morality which they enact with their reprehensible judge, jury, and executioner demeanor. Absolutely. How many times have we said on this channel, it's a cult. It is their religion. And they will force it on you to believe. They believe they are morally superior to you. They think they are better than you. They think they are your betters, and you should just lay down like some lowly serf and take every edict that they give you. But we know better, don't we? That's why we're winning. Because the majority of the reality of out there, the majority of the people out there, the main street, the majority of Western civilization, and the majority of fucking America is rejecting this nonsense. They are pushing back against it. It's why Disney is failing. It's why the comic book industry is failing. It's why D&D is failing. And why they continue to get pushed back. Disney was once the dominant force in the box office when it came to movies and television, whether it be superheroes, whether it be family entertainment. Where's Disney now? You don't think it's not going to happen to D&D? You don't think it's not going to happen to Wizards of the Coast? Keep trying. Keep pushing this nonsense and see what happens. History doesn't just repeat itself, it also rhymes. They are probably wincing and wondering, us, the saints of truth? More like snakes. Absolutely right. Isn't there the story in this really old book about a snake trying to deceive people and do things bad? I wonder if that has any reference to today. Anyone who would, until the majority of authors who created the game were gone, to stick it to them in this manner is a vile snake. And just to complete the deed to do it on the 50th, show their admirers who's in charge. Show them who's in control of the IP. They fear those times they had no hand in creating, and they especially fear Gary Gygax. His name sends shivers up and down their crooked spines, and if it wasn't enough to have hounded him in life, let's do a Houdini and trample on his grave. Disgusting slime. Amen, brother. He's spot on. He's dead on accurate. That's exactly what it is. They want to destroy everything that came before and replace it with their nonsense. They want you to think just like them. That's why if you had any reference, or if you had, or maybe you're somebody new coming into the game, new into the hobby, and you're like, oh, let's learn about the creators. Wow, no. Wizards of the Coast is telling you right now, you can't admire those people. You can't revere those founders of the game you love. No, they were a bunch of racists, bigots, and misogynists. They were evil. And you must hate them just like we do. But it's not just Gary or Dave and us and others. It's about wanting to wipe out the success and claim it as their own. In order to do that, the fandom must be attacked, as well as that history. All of it must be purged and never again allowed to exist. These people are the epitome of the evil Robin Barons, parroting as the good guys. Sleight of hand bullshit from gold-hobbled prestigators who don't know fantasy or how to summon it. Yup. What they know how to push down on their little man syndrome by stepping on those whose shoes they can never walk in. Facts. Absolute facts. They could not hold the jockstrap of the creatives that came before them. That's why they destroy. Evil can't create. It can only warp and destroy. And I know that's not the exact quote, but you know the one I'm talking about from Tolkien. He was right then, he's right now. And that's exactly what he's saying. With what they know how to push down on their little man syndrome by stepping on those shoes they can never walk in. That and preaching righteous indignation while counting their bottom lines, taking their vacations, and dreaming about their next cafe latte. Posers, one and all. Amen, brother. You want to talk, people want to know, what's this tourist term mean? This is what we're talking about. People who have no respect for the history of what came before, the foundations and the fundamentals for it. They want to come in and use your game and use your fandom to push your agenda, push their agenda, and discredit everything that came before. This is what we mean by tourists. They were never invested in your fandom to begin with. They only wanted to use it as a tool to push their agenda. If they actually had a reverence and a love for your favorite game, why would they attack these people? Why would they intentionally go out of their way to just write a forward discrediting and bashing the people that came before them? They wouldn't. They would just leave it alone. They would republish it exactly as it is. And if, you know what, if somebody asked them the question, well, you know, you could easily go, well, that was then, this is now. We just look at things in a different way. But no, instead they go out of their way to bash the original creators of something. Because that's what they do. Their goal is destruction. And when you realize that, everything else makes sense. He concluded, we fought these establishment pukes back then in the mid-70s as they gathered about a fledgling TSR to bring it down. Now it's the second round. Roblier may be a little aged, but he's not dead yet. You have made a permanent enemy of many you stupid coastal wizards. Let's see how many real magic cards you hold besides the illusory ones. For this battle, neither sought nor wanted by me and others, is just beginning. You'll get sick of hearing my name soon enough. It's spelled Kuntz. Kuntz. I love it. And in the follow-up, he wasn't done. He wasn't done. Gauntlets have been cast. My letter to Hasbro will decide the next course of action. Mark my words. Ladies and gentlemen, he has started a war, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. I am here for it. In a more recent post, Kuntz described the current management of Wizards Coast as the real racists. Right here. Just a reminder of the real racists in this hobby. In their own words, as a reminder that it was white dudes with the help of white women who created this hobby for everyone to share in, no matter the race, color, creed. Remember that as Wizards of the Coast and its ilk slay the EGG. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because these people have said they made mistakes and yada, yada, yada. Honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough for this hobby. Yes, you evil, self-hating white person. Well, guess what? one of the last remaining founders of Dungeons and Dragons, is not taking it lightly. He is calling upon the fans. He is calling upon himself and all the legal action he can possibly take. And guess what? Even if he ain't got no legal rights to shit anymore, he is still a respected voice inside the D&D community. His voice will be made heard, and his fans will listen to this. He is not going to go quietly in the night. He is not taking this sitting down. Robert is on the warpath, and I am here for it. Because at the end of the day, fans are what matter. And if fans aren't happy about things, no one should be happy about it. But these Wizards of the Coast folks don't care about that. All they care about is their agenda. All they care about is disparaging the giants whose shoulders they stand on. That's what they want. Destroy the past. Erase the history. Rewrite it in their own image. They think they can do better than God. Boy, isn't that a story as old as time? Pride before the fall. I wonder if history is going to repeat itself again with Dungeons and Dragons.